Welcome back to the channel. It's Ninja Turtle here, and I've got a brand new custom. It's Storm as the goddess of thunder, or the Asgardian Storm, or whatever type of name they need to give it. I really don't know if it has a proper name, but there was a issue where Loki, I believe Loki gave Stormcaster the hammer to Storm and transformed her into this basically, and very, very obscure. Not a lot of people know about it. And I'd highly doubt Hasbro would ever make a figure like this for multiple reasons, but also it's just it was inspired for me, in very least, by multiple reasons. There's a lot of cosplay of this, a lot of fan art of this. I believe there's a mini bust that I believe was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive a few years ago of this, and it's just really cool, and I really wanted to try it, and I've been holding out on this for like a year or two, at least a year, because I bought some of these pieces a year ago waiting to do this. So finally it's happened. So let's go ahead and cover it and let you know how I made this, how it came to be, what parts it came from, and stuff like that, and any other complications, because like I said, I've been in previous videos I've been experimenting, and this is the third in the line of the experiment, and I still learned a few things about how my new processes will be, but a lot of it worked out really well. So for what it's worth, though, I am going to keep Storm on this stand here. She's not just standing and she's not actually flying, but this figure stand, I'm going to keep her on this, mostly because of she's really heavy. She can stand up, like independently. She can stand up, but it's not very easy, and she's most likely gonna fall anyway, and that is mostly because this cape is really big and heavy. So it just, if I took the cape off, she could stand without a problem. The cape just puts too much weight on her, and she ends up falling over most of the time. And I'd rather her be obviously not falling over, because I don't want things to break, I don't want it to get damaged, I don't want it to be on the floor. But the cape itself, let's go ahead and talk about it since we're already here. You can see the figure stand is holding her around her waist. But the cape itself is a cape from Nighthawk, if I'm remembering the name correctly. I think it's Nighthawk, and it was modified a little bit, so it normally has like points, like it's really pointy, and I just cut all of that off and made it one straight line there. And again, Nighthawk is a male figure, a much bigger body and heavier base. He's fine with standing with that, and he's taller. But Storm, not so much. You might be able to see a little bit of the original color there. You can see the red there. So all of that is painted on the inside, but I left that because I didn't want the paint to rub off while sticking in the peg hole in the back of her top there, upper torso. So I just left that red. The other part that was modified was each of these, this bend right here, I cut that a little bit slimmer just on the inside here. All of the rest is normal, but on each of the insides here, I just cut that and just made it a little bit slimmer. So it is lighter than it was before, but it's still not light enough for her to stand up independently, consistently. But regardless, that is just the cape. And I also added some extra, you can kind of see some of the up on the top, it's like little frilly-ish things. That's just pieces of hair from I think it was Lady Deadpool, honestly, ponytail, and just cut that and glued that on and pretended like it's supposed to be there. But let's go back and we'll cover bottom and go up. So her shoes are heels, which is another thing. These aren't the standard Hasbro heels, though, because there was no way she would be able to stand if they were just like the regular old heels that they put on Shikla or all the other characters. But these are actually the same ones that are on this Storm, this 2-pack Storm with the Thunderbird. These are the same ones, and I actually made these out of resin. So these are copies. I took the copies of these and made them into those, and they're repainted the same color. It's actually a dark blue. It might look black on camera, but it's a navy blue color for the shoes, and all of the darker colors on her costume is actually navy blue and not black. But the shoes themselves are the same ones as these heels here. So they're not too high. They're a little small as far as like the shoe size it goes, but you know, you gotta use whatever you have available, right? Going back to the legs now. So the actual full legs are, if I remember, did I use, actually I don't remember. I know these thighs are probably White Rabbit, most likely White Rabbit, but the lower legs are from Psylocke, from like the regular Psylocke that was in the Apocalypse Wave. The knees and the legs, I know that much. But I believe the thighs are White Rabbit, because I think I used those Psylocke thighs already, so I had to find some other thighs to throw in here. The fur stuff on her legs, there's a couple options you can go about, if you're bold enough, I should say. But what I did is took these like leg, I don't know, plastic pieces, whatever, from the black cat figure that is, yeah, you know, she just has like extra fur that just removable or movable. You can slide it around, but this is actually glued on there so it doesn't move, and sanded it a little bit and primed, painted it white. You could go this option, and this is what I was going to do the first time, is actually use White Rabbit's legs, so it would have been the same thighs and lower leg as a White Rabbit, and this would have been almost perfect. Almost perfect. I was going to use that, but I really wanted to use the heels like that. The problem with these, and the reason why I didn't do that, is that because I've used these before on a different figure, the pin that goes into the foot is incredibly large. It's huge. It's thick. It's just a really big pin compared to all of the other pins that are for legs for females. This one is huge, and it fits this foot because they made it that way. But trying to get this pin to go into any other foot, any other regular size shoe, heel, or whatever it is, that would require either you have to Dremel it down and make it smaller, or a lot of forced luck, like just forcing it into a new foot or shoe. And since these are resin copies, that's not really a good idea. I would probably break these. If these were the original shoe, maybe it would work out. Like original Hasbro plastic, maybe I could stuff it into something else, but these are resin copies and they're really hard plastic, so it wouldn't work out whatsoever. So I just use regular legs for that. But this, other than that, this would have been perfect for this figure. I had originally planned on using these. But moving on, the torso, let's go with this belt first. So this is a loosey-goosey belt here. The bulk of it is just a like front and back. All of this cloth hanging is from Blink. You could use other characters because this Blinks, it like twists and stuff like that. I like in general it doing that, but you don't have to. You know, you can go whatever direction you want with that. But that's Blink. The belt itself, I believe I used a belt from Medusa, so this is just the actual circle going around is just a Medusa belt. So cut that piece off of the Blink belt and glued onto the Medusa one, front and back, and then all of these pieces here are just pieces of resin that I shaped and glued right onto the belt and painted gold. Torso is just your standard Kate Bishop torso. I did use a brown pin, which you can't see on the inside, but it's not painted. So the pin connecting the legs is also made of resin and brown pigment, so no paint rub in there. Good to go. Painted on the stripes onto her belly, but the actual stripes here is actually more plastic. And this plastic came from just a plastic cup, by the way, right here. Just this. This is a plastic cup, like a Dunkin' Donuts coffee, iced coffee cup. That's all that is right there. And I just cut little strips and glued that onto her chest, and that is that, painted it. So it's hard to see with this the figure sand holding her up, but it is actually glued on there. It is three-dimensional. There's space in there. That's all I wanted. I've done that a couple times before. Speaking of her chest, though, while we're on it, so originally I was going to use a Lady Deadpool top and just use that because that's what I would normally use for Storm, but I didn't want to cut off the peg for the actual figure. I wanted to have a peg hole for it to go in there, and the only figures that have that are, you know, the Kate Bishop tops, your standard. Let me see if I can grab one real quick. Here you go. Your standard Kate Bishop tops like this that have that peg hole, but they don't have cleavage. They have like a t-shirt. So this figure, actually the lower torso and the upper torso, how convenient, are actually from a Polaris figure. So the upper and lower is the same thing. So I actually took a Dremel and dremeled off the shirt part right in the middle there, and just made a nice little gap of space, and took some epoxy sculpt and shaped each of her breasts and shaped her chest a little bit, but it's mostly just the breast there. But yeah, I dremeled off a shirt from Kate Bishop, and now that I've done that for the first time, I'll do it a whole bunch more. It worked out really good. I can't believe it was fine. And I thought I would end up dremeling too far down and it would mess up the figure, or make it hard to put it back together, or make it look ugly. But no, everything looks fine. It worked out pretty good. So it's just again, this is just a Polaris top that I dremeled the shirt down and sculpted the chest there, and then glued the strings on there. I didn't do a string, like a ribbon, like a string, like a tie here, because I thought it would be too much. She's also supposed to have that on her legs as well, like a ribbon going around and tied around her boots, but that would have been too much as well. I thought it would just be fine to leave it the way it is. She does have sculpt on her neck for I can barely see it. I'm trying to show it off. Yeah, sculpt around her neck, 3 rings going around her neck as jewelry, and then this piece right here of jewelry is loose right there, and that's from Shikla as well. So remove the paint that was on there and repainted it all gold and put that on here. Shoulder pads come from Jean Grey, the Age of Apocalypse. So just took the shoulder pads off, dremeled the inside so they would fit a regular shoulder blade like so, and glued those on and repainted. So there we go. That's a silver color, along with the gloves here. I'll show off this glove here. This is also silver in color, so they match. These lower parts of the glove that come from Jean Grey. Where did she go? Where did I put her, Jean? Oh darn, where's Jean? I had Jean. Oh well. Here's one. Here's a different Jean. This isn't the Jean I had. So yeah, the gloves are from this Jean. Just the lower part. Just this part here. The upper part is from a Storm, which would be this one. Give me a second here. There you go. It's from this Storm. So her bicep part is the same as this. This part on her arm here is from, if I remember correctly, it's Crossbones. So this isn't sculpted on. It can easily just sculpt it on. It wouldn't be much of an issue to just get some epoxy sculpt and sculpt this piece on here. But on Crossbones, he has some wrist. These go around his wrists, And for cable, I had used part of that for cable, and then I still have the other part right here. So it fit perfectly. I just glued it on there and painted it gold. So that's that. And as far as the hammer, again, this is Stormcaster. Trying to get a better angle Stormcaster for you, but yeah, Stormcaster is a combination of a couple things. The actual hammer itself is fully epoxy sculpted. It didn't shape it perfectly. I tried my best. It was just like a block of epoxy sculpt, and then I tried to Dremel it into shape. So we can see a lot of the point here. It's all dremeled down to shape, but it just wasn't perfectly done, but it looks okay. The handle is the umbrella from White Rabbit, the handle off of that. So that could have been just resin as well, but I have a lot of those White Rabbits and a lot of those umbrellas. I needed to use them. So yeah, that's just a handle from the umbrella of White Rabbit. And then again, that coffee cup from Dunkin' Donuts, took a strip of that and made this little handle piece here, the little whatever. It's very delicate. It's already broken. Like when I put this together and put it in her hand for the first time, I broke the handle off of the hammer and needed to glue it back on. So I don't want to touch that again because I don't want to break it again. But that is that. Now let's talk about her face while we have it up here in frame. The face itself is just the Punk Storm. Right, repainted a little bit. You can see the difference in flesh tone. So I did paint her face. I love this flesh tone for Storm. This one's fine. This is the Hasbro color. It's okay. It's fine. But I love the darker tone for Storm so much. So I definitely want to keep Storm at this tone every time I make her. And we'll get back into that later. But this is the same head. Only modifications done to it was you can see her earrings. The lightning bolt earrings, those are sculpted on the original head sculpt, and I had to Dremel those off and sand them down, so there was no earrings on this one. But you can see some feathery wings things on her face, so I did not sculpt those. That is via our friend, well, let's back this up a little bit, I guess. This thing that's inside Katie's Marvel Legend, I believe it's called Morris. I've only seen Shang-Chi once, so I believe its name is Morris. But yeah, it has wings in there, so I just cut the wings off. I have so many of these Katies because they went on clearance, and they're very, even though I don't care for this character whatsoever, and it's just not even on my display, but the figure has so many useful things for me for future customs. I don't necessarily need to use Morris that much anymore, but I will probably hold on to him because originally I was going to buy a Thor and take the wings off of Thor, the classic Thor, and just take the wings off of that and glue it onto here. But I have so many Morrises, and it just works out for this particular figure. But in the future, I'm going to be needing this bow for several characters. The big thing would be the skirt, because it's a dress, but it's a separate piece. So it's basically a long skirt that I can use for a lot of characters. Let's say Aerith from Final Fantasy VII would be one of those. Ammo for the arrows as well. Fists, just in general, because fists are hard to come by for females. She also has sandals, which I did use before for Mary Jane because they were the only bare feet that were accessible to me, and I ended up sanding or dremeling off the sandal and using those for her feet. I don't have to worry about that anymore, but they're still sandals and they're still useful, and her hair is really good. And also Awkwafina's face might be a Marvel Legend of a different character at some point, but in general it's a very, very, very useful figure, even if I don't care for the actual figure itself. But that's it. The back to Storm, all of this jewelry around her head is sculpted on and just painted gold, and that is the entire build. Oh yeah, the actual gloves as well. You can see the actual um, piece here is like flipping up. That's sculpted on as well. So it's very important that she doesn't fall over because I don't want that to break. I would normally use softer plastic and then sculpt around that to hold it in place. So any piece that's like floating loose would be soft and plastic and bendable, so it wouldn't be a problem. But not this time because I didn't think that far ahead, I guess. But yeah, I definitely don't want her to fall over, and that's why she's on this figure stand, and I don't want to take her off of that figure stand. And she looks good on it anyway, so I mean, she should be flying. That's it for this storm. Let's do a quick comparison of storms, and then we'll get out of here. All right, here's a storm comparison. Some of these are customs and some of these are not. In fact, the two on the right are not customs. These are Hasbro, the Punk Storm, and the 2-pack Classic Storm, Original Storm. These are your not customs, where we have our custom Asgardian Storm, we have our custom mid 2000s, mid aughts, I guess, slash Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Storm here, and then we have the 90s Storm in Silver, which is a custom. So this is a modification. So I've already said this in previous videos, I'll say it again. I don't like the way Hasbro makes their Storm or their Psylocke or their Emma Frost and their Jean Grey, even Kitty Pryde, and I basically am going to remake everything. The only thing that I like from what they've done is their faces. I think they really do, especially with Storm. I think Storm's face sculpts are really good, but you can even see here there's an inconsistency in their skin tone. This one's very red looking, and this one is a good brown. I like this skin tone a lot, but compare that to what I've painted, like I really love this color for Storm a lot. And again, the face sculpts look great, and then these two. So in general, they have that new Storm that's coming out, which is the repaint of this with the cell shaded for the animated series. I love the head sculpt on that one, and of course I hate everything else, but I love the head sculpt on that, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. In general, I've been thinking about, because I've used this one for that. I don't want that eyebrow raised because that's how this one is. I shouldn't have painted it that way, but I kind of just fell right into it. It was a trap. Ended up painting the eyebrow that way. But in general, I would like to use this one, but this one doesn't have ears. If maybe you didn't know that, but there's no ears on this head sculpt, whereas this one does. And this one, I like this head sculpt a lot as well, but the shape of it, when you take the hair off of it, it's actually a really weird head shape. So hopefully when that new one comes out, it doesn't have a really goofy large head underneath the hair. If it does, oh well, I'll work with it. But I'd like to use the new head sculpt as long as it has ears, which I believe, actually I don't know until I get it in hand. I don't know if the new one's going to have ears or not. If it doesn't have ears, then we're going to have to keep using the same Punk Storm head sculpt for future Storms. I don't know if this one has ears or not, but I know this one doesn't in general. But yeah, I'm going to be remaking these two eventually, probably this one sooner than later. One, because I really want to use these legs. The legs are fine. They're not the best looking, but there are some things that are really great about these legs. I won't get into that, but I do want to use these legs, and then she would have a body like this, or I should say body like this. They're the same sort of deal. So I definitely want, basically just when I get to this, it'll be using the same legs, probably the same arms, and definitely the same head and cape. But just giving her a new torso and painting her in this skin tone and calling it a day. And I really can't wait to start that. But it won't be right now. I have some other things that we'll work on, and then I want to get that new Storm head in, because I'm also going to redo that as well. Even this one was kind of put together really quickly. You can see a big difference. I use the same silver paint here as I did here, but my problem with this one, and this was a long time ago, is that one, I never primed it. I just painted right on top of the white that was normally there. Secondly, I only did one coat of silver on this. So this one had two coats and it looks so much better. But this one only has one coat on it. So I want it to be a better looking and everything. It'll be a different body mold. Again, it'll be more like this. And then just figure all of the rest of it out. But use the same head. I wouldn't change that at all. But everything else would definitely get revamped and stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing this again in silver, and I'm going to do it again in white as well, because I do think it's supposed to be white, but it looks great in silver, so I want both. And then there's the cell shaded one, which I won't be doing a version of. I'll just stick with whatever Hasbro gives. If I even decide to keep it, I think their cell shaded one looks terrible, but the head sculpt on it looks amazing. So I can't wait to do more Storm. I have no idea when I'm going to do a follow up. Like I said, I'm redoing like pretty much all of the X-Men ladies in every costume: Emma, Jean, Psylocke, Rogue. I don't like the way they do Rogue either. So yeah, all of that's going to happen over the course of time. I'm very excited to continue to work on these because they do make me happy, especially Storm in general. I do have a header. I think I might take a picture of this and replace my header. You know what? No, because she's got, I'll wait because this one's bad. My header on Twitter is literally the last picture of Storm collections that I did. So I'm going to have to update that at some point, but maybe after I remake a couple of these. So yeah, make sure you check out my Twitter if you want to see that picture, and make sure you hit subscribe here on YouTube so you can see more customs. And I do have one more video that I'm going to make, and it'll be coming out relatively soon, that will talk about the future of the channel and a couple of other small updates that I've done over the last couple of months that did not deserve a whole video, because I like to ramble about things and it would take too long, and those things are not worth having a video dedicated to them. So that will be in the next video, a compilation of things that I've done as well as what's going on with the future of the channel. So I will see you guys then. Peace.